I've been trying to make this video since yesterday. I'm gonna attempt to just make it now. Um, I was watching these documentaries yesterday. One of them was about how like humans created apples, like the modern apples we have now, like the ones that taste good, were only created because the original apples didn't taste good. So then, you know, we do selective breeding, cross pollination, like whatever other techniques that are used to create apples or create different plants. We then blend them together to create new strains. Just like, there's we do it with cannabis. Mother Nature does it unintentionally. Like a plant can just evolve based on like adapting to its environment. Like I talked about how the motherwort plant is technically three plants. But originally it was one plant that then basically evolved. And I was watching a documentary about how like that's how they theorized that the chicken was made. That the chicken was just a deformed hen or rooster or whatever they're called. That basically a rooster or a hen or whatever laid an egg and basically out comes a deformed rooster or hen, and then that deformed thing has lays eggs, and then we call it chicken. Like we call them chickens. But it's like technically it's like Mother Nature does this thing randomly, but we can with our mind we can make it not random. So we created corn, like the corn that we have now. Corn used to be this little grass thing, and then we made it what it is now because we, you know, did selective breeding and whatever and all this shit to get the corn to look the way we want it to look. We did the same thing with bananas. We didn't like that bananas had seeds, so we removed the seeds to have more of the part that we actually like. And I was sitting here thinking about how if I was rich and maybe the laws were different, I would spend my time trying to do that with drug plants, right? Like, you know how like there's cannabis strains, but it's like modern humans aren't making cannabis strains to be the best that it could be. Because have you noticed that cannabis, uh, all the newest strains kind of just, I don't know, they're off. It's just, the high is off to me. And to me, it's like an unbalanced high. Like a lot of these modern cannabis strains have like an unbalanced high. Or if the high is good, they taste like shit. Or like even if it's cured good. So like I create my own different cannabinoid mixtures. Like I buy individual cannabinoids and make my own mixtures based off of the feeling or the high that the mixture gives. So like if I take two cannabinoids and let's say I add, well, let's say I have three cannabinoids and I mix them together, and it's like the high, it gets me high but it feels slightly off. So then I remove one of those cannabinoids and now there's only two, but then the high is balanced. Or like or like I can have five different cannabinoids, and it's like if I replace one with a different one, so it's still five cannabinoids, but now I remove the delta 10 and I replace it with um delta 8, or I remove the delta 8 and I replace it with delta 10, or like like that type of thing can create a different high. So then I then pick and create mixtures based off of the high that I want it to feel like. Now, I've noticed with me that I like balanced highs. So the cannabinoid mixture that I smoke like every day, it has a cannabinoid that gives a head high, and then it has a cannabinoid in it that gives a body high. Now, it gives a body high and a head high, but like so then when I smoke it, I feel the balance of the head high and the body high at the same time. And that's with like just me mixing pure molecules together. Now I was sitting here thinking about like if I had time and money and all this shit, I would do that with actual plants. Like I grew Clipdaga for 4 years. I had all my seeds and shit stolen, so like it fucked up my thing that I was working on. But originally I was working on this thing because I ordered some Clipdaga seeds online, and then I grew them. And then that year, I had seeds, and then the next year I grew those seeds. So then that's the second generational seeds, and then I grew the third generational seeds, and then the fourth year I grew the fourth generational seeds, and then in that fourth generational seeds, I could start to see a difference, a small difference, but mainly in smell. Now, all the plants every year are getting fed the same. They're getting treated the same. They're getting the light the same. They're getting the water. Like everything was the same. So the thing that happened is I have a certain way of doing my plant, growing my plants. I crack raw eggs into my dirt. Um, I had ormus in my dirt. Like I was just doing this thing, trying to, and then I added like banana peels and different fruit peels into the dirt every year, because I was trying to get I had this idea like if there's more terpenes in the dirt, then maybe the plant can use those terpenes and maybe it can start having a stronger smell. Right? It's just an idea. But it's like, well, over time, if that plant is in that environment for a while, it would start to pick up on those terpenes and that thing. So by the fourth year, it just had a slightly stronger smell. Um, more lemony, like kind of like garlicky, but like lemony. Um, reminded me of like cannabis, but not like the smell did. But it was that gave me this idea that if I could do that for 10 years, I guarantee I can make Clipdaga like the high from it stronger. Like someone takes the plant and it's like I guarantee I can make it feel a certain way, or it's like it can start to feel slightly different, or maybe I can turn it from Clipdaga and somehow zap the seed with radiation or something to change the plant into something else, because that's what happened to space lotus. So space lotus is a type of lotus flower, but it was created by like taking, I think it was blue lotus flower like seeds into space. The radiation changed the DNA of the seeds, and then when they grew the seed, it then grew a different plant that they called space lotus. But all of this is so like random, but it's like I can see a pattern here where it's like if there was just humans that were conscious involved in this shit, then we can start consciously breeding drug plants to feel better, to feel stronger, to be safer, to whatever. Like, you know how, like, there's fentanyl on the streets and it's killed so many people. I've heard heroin addicts say that the old school heroin felt better. Like, the high felt better. Now, I'm not advocating for people doing drugs, like those type of drugs. But I am saying that it would have been better off if heroin was still heroin and not fentanyl. Like, because I've heard people say fentanyl doesn't, the euphoria, it's not as euphoric as something like, heroin or even opium. Like, those are highly addictive things. But it's like if someone's gonna use an opiate, in my mind, it's like, shouldn't they use the safest one? And wouldn't it be great if the safest one was also the most euphoric one? Like, it's these ideas that I just don't think. I think everyone's so shoved up the idea of money, like, money is so shoved up everyone's ass that they can't, that people are not seeing straight. They're not like they create cannabis strains, but all these cannabis strains feel like shit, so they all need to go in the garbage, and everyone needs to restart. Like in my opinion, 98% percent of the modern cannabis strains can all be thrown in the garbage. And we need to restart and start making cannabis strains based off of having a better high and a better taste and a better this and a better that and a better like in a better yield and a better like, because there's ways where you can have a cannabis strain that has a great yield, but it's not like the bud isn't as great. But then you have another cannabis strain that has bud that is insanely great, but the yield isn't that great. So if you breed those two together, you might be able to have a plant that yields, right, but also gives a better high. And then if you don't like the high from that new plant that you created, we'll then take that seed and then mix it with like a sour diesel or something to then create another strain. Like, I guess what I'm saying is if the intention was to get a better taste and a better high and a better feeling in general, everything would feel better. Like, we wouldn't need to keep creating cannabis strains every 10 seconds because all these new like young dudes making cannabis strains, not thinking about anything, not caring about the taste, not caring about the type of high that it gives. Like, okay, I want this one to give an energizing high and this one, or maybe like create a cannabis strain. There's a lot of hybrids, so create a cannabis strain that actually feels balanced. Because it's funny that there's a lot of cannabis hybrid strains, but they don't feel balanced at all. Um, because they're not making the strain thinking about what the balance of the high necessarily, like. And if you don't get it right, then keep going, because to get it right, it would take like 10 years. That's why I said if I had 10 years to just keep growing my clip dagger and to keep making it stronger. And then I was even thinking about getting like other, like maybe like the lotus flower, if I can get like the pollen of the lotus flower, or like an actual fresh lotus flower, and have it like pollinate, the clip dagger, try to have different plants pollinate, like just try to create something, try to, for the intention of trying to make it better. Like, but our society is so fucked that like it's almost illegal. Like if you said, hey, I want to take Clipdaga or motherwort, and I want to try to evolve the plant into a stronger drug plant. One, you're not going to get scientific funding to do that, and two, you'll create the plant and then they'll just make it illegal. Or there's the problem with this, because I was sitting here thinking about how, like, if imagine if doctors, instead of them creating new drugs, what if they just created plants and then gave us the plants? But then I'm like, well, that's a problem, because then they can start owning plants, because it already happens. There's a lot of GMO, like seeds, that technically if a company owns a certain GMO plant, they can patent it because they created it, so therefore they can patent the plant. So therefore, if you grow their plant, they can sue you for a lot of money, or you can go to jail, or like whatever. So that's my worry with this idea, that it's like, if instead of Big Pharma making molecules, they then start making plants, and then making the plants based off of, well, this plant will actually heal someone better than this drug we made, where because this plant has hundreds or thousands of molecules in it, and this drug we made has one or two. Because, like, people are making concoctions of drugs based off of trying to make a patent instead of based off of what's actually working. Or, like, they'll take a mixture, they'll make two molecules into a new pill, and they only have two molecules in it because one of those molecules is helping reduce some of the negative side effects of the first molecule. Like, so part of it is intentionally trying to, help and do all this, but like, we're only, it's like we're sitting here trying to build something with one arm tied behind our back. This arm is like pharmaceutical drugs that Big Pharma creates in a lab. But this hand over here could be plants that are created, like GMO, I guess you could say GMO, but like plants that are created either through GMO or other more natural based ways, um, created with the intention to create true medicinal plants. Like true medicinal plants. Like, like people say, oh, this plant, it's kind of medicinal. Yeah, but like imagine if then Big Pharma then took that plant and created a GMO version of that plant where that GMO version can heal 100 times better than the original version. Like, but then the problem would be that Big Pharma would then patent that plant and then would make it illegal for any of us to grow that plant. So then we would have to get the plant from only them, and that's the only way we'd be able to heal. Um, it's all of these problems could be solved if no human with that is controlled by their ego was allowed to run anything. Like if you came to Earth and like Earth had a rule, and the rule was to be the CEO of a big pharma thing or to be in a hospital or to run these type of things, like you have to not be controlled by your ego. You have to not you have to say who gives a fuck about money. You have to care more about actually healing and helping than you do about making money and patents and making sure that other people don't grow the plant because then you're going to lose money. Or like, no, like the best version of this would be if a hospital created their own plant medicines to heal people. The best version of this would be that they also give the people the seeds so the people can grow their own plant medicines. Like, I don't know. I know this is like this talk's kind of all over the place, but it's just this idea that I had about how imagine if someone had the intention to try to create different drugs from plants. Like, there's a bunch of plant drugs. Well, we can make those plants feel better, the drug feeling stronger. Like, and that'd be great, right? Because drugs are great, right? But in our society, they're like, yeah, that's bad. They think that you shouldn't be using drugs unless you're trying to heal yourself. Like, our society thinks it's bad to get high, but yet they create bars for people to drink. Like, and they're okay with us drinking because they know there is no medicinal value to alcohol. So they know that. So because they know that, they allow us to drink whenever we want. You can go to the store and buy alcohol any day of the fucking week. But like, if I gave you guys a list of plants and told you guys that they could heal this, this, and this, then the government can make those plants illegal because I told you guys that they could heal you. But if I told you, alcohol is dangerous and the government would not try to make it illegal, right? They don't care if a substance is dangerous. They care if the substance can destroy the thing that they're trying to sell us. Like if I have a plant that could be a better heart medication than any heart medication they have ever created, then obviously they would want to get rid of that plant because it risks taking their money away, right? If I was rich and I could have scientists create new Blue Lotus strains, like, there's Blue Lotus, but I guarantee if I had enough time and money, I can create a Blue Lotus strain that gives a stronger drug feeling, right? Like it will just feel more drug-like. I don't know how to explain it. But I know if I had the time and the ability to keep trying the different lotus flowers and be like, okay, I like this one and I like the effect of this one. So if you mix those two together, it should create a nice balanced high, a balanced, thing. But it's like, yeah, I don't know. My hopes is that maybe this video lasts 200 years, and some dude can watch this 200 years from now and start making some new Blue Lotus flowers and start flooding the streets with it or some shit. I don't know. But make sure, if you do that, don't patent it and keep it from people, right? Like, I feel like this shit it's for the people. Like, all of this should be for the people. That's why, like, I have a slight issue with patents. And I get it. Like, I get copywriting things. I understand. I'm working on a book, a fictional book, and I haven't even said anything about it because I don't want someone to steal my idea. So I get having an idea that you don't want stolen. But if you have a plant that can heal people, or if you can make a plant that can heal people, why? Of course you should give it away for free. Like, of course. If you, like, I don't know, bro. Fuck this goddamn fucking money system. Like, it fucked everything up, bro. Like, human ego fucks everything up. Because we could be healed. We could be. We could be healed. We really could be. Like, plants and drugs could work together, and we can make them work together. But we have to do the work to make them work together. We have to do the work to create better plants, to figure out what plants work and which plants don't, to figure out which molecules work and which molecules don't. Like, but I just wish the system gave us a little more leeway to try the other option, because I have to be careful with what I say. I wish that I didn't have to be careful with what the fuck I'm saying. Like, I should be able to tell you guys, this is what I did to heal. This is what I think this plant does, and this plant does, and this plant, like, this plant attaches to this receptor, so therefore, because it attaches to this receptor, it should help with this, because that pharmaceutical drug also attaches to that receptor. And it's like, if I tell you guys and teach people this information, we start putting the plants at risk, because then the government can make them illegal, because they don't want people to know that we can heal ourselves. They don't want people to know that Mother Earth has created plants, and if we don't like the plants she's created, we can then do what we did with corn and turn it into a better plant that would help us more. But, like, I don't know. I'm just gonna keep rambling on. I think I said what the fuck I was trying to say. Like, these things kind of bother me sometimes, because, like, I just free flow whatever's on top of my head. So, like, I free flowed, and, like, I had this idea for this video, but it didn't turn out the way that I wanted it to. Maybe I'll just talk about it another day. But for now, this is good enough.